A very good morning and welcome to cross-country skiing on Eurosport. And this weekend we're in Davos in Switzerland, as you can see, up at almost 1,600 meters for the men's and women's freestyle individual races, but also tomorrow, Sunday, for the sprints. It's a gorgeous morning. 6:30 this morning, it was chilly, -8, warming up all the time. And alongside myself, David Goldstrom, is Mike Dixon. Mike, a very good morning. Couldn't be better.
It's beautiful. It always is. It always seems to be down here in Davos, David. And once again, the blue skies and, all right, slight lack of snow, but they've done a great job to make sure the tracks are going to be lasting for the whole race field.
Well, it's not the biggest field for the women's race, which goes first, but there is a big absentee. And that absentee, of course, is the queen of Davos, and that is Marit Bjørgen. Here she is with 7 wins, but of course Marit in the next couple of weeks or so expecting her first child with her partner Fred Boer Lundberg, and she is a fantastic, prolific winner. 75 World Cup victories in her career, and 7 of them right here in Davos. Well, this is just a little flavour of Davos, which occasionally the only people that seem to come here are politicians and economists, but long ago this was established as one of the world's top alpine and indeed Nordic resorts. And Mike, it is a winter wonderland at this altitude, perfect for cross-country skiing.
It really is. And you know, David, for the athletes, having spent the last 5 weeks in the dark north up in Finland, then over into Lillehammer in middle Norway, it's good for the athletes to come here. There's more daylight. It's a positive feeling to be in this wonderful village of Davos town. It's just beautiful down here, and I think the athletes appreciate the history on this course as well.
I think that's right, and they've been up since, as I say, 6:30 local time this morning, getting ready for today's race. And the women go first, the men in the afternoon. 48 competitors from 18 nations, but still a very interesting race. No Marit Bjørgen, that's true, but just
free technique in Davos tomorrow. You've had a strong start to the season. You're looking forward to the race?
Yeah, tomorrow is, I think it's interesting day for me. Skating, it's not, I think it's not so strong than classic, but still I think that I have quite a good shape, and I like really much skiing here in Davos. So I think that tomorrow is coming good day. I hope so.
We hope so too. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, Kerttu Niskanen, who currently lies 7th in the overall World Cup rankings, and includes a 3rd place in the Ruka 10-kilometer classic race. And arguably she is that little bit better in classic, but she's shown already to be fit, firing, and in good form. We'll be back to focus on the start of the race after this. Once again, a very good morning, and this is the journey that lies ahead for 48 women from 18 countries. Here's Mike Dixon with his thoughts on the course.
Look at this, David, all the way from the start line, all the way up to, well, 3 kilometres. You're mostly climbing, yes, and those little descents are fast, and on the conditions at the moment, some difficult icy corners, and then your journey back down into the stadium, relatively easy. So it's all about uphill to 2.53 kilometres, and then an easier journey back into the stadium, 3 times around that 5 kilometre.
Well, 6:30 this morning, it was -8, and I can tell you it's now, as you saw there, just 1.7 minus, so it really has warmed up. Here's another look at that course journey there and the interval times we're going to see here in Davos. I echo what Mike was saying, particularly the chicane downhills could be quite demanding. And here the start list with the first of the seeded athletes, Nicole Fessel, going at bib number 20. disadvantaged because she's going first, but really good race here last year for Nicole. Second, a personal best for her, over 10 kilometers freestyle, and a good fourth finish in the skiathlon last weekend in Lillehammer. So great pathfinder for the race. Then you can see the women who lead the World Cup there. Teresa Johaug leading the distance and the overall World Cup rankings. And you might have noticed in there we have British interest as well with bib number 29, Annika Taylor from the United States. Actually born of British parents, but in the United States. The unfortunate thing is that Annika was mowed down by a couple of Russian test skiers yesterday, literally upended and tossed in the air. Got a sore back. She's been out this morning. We don't yet know as to whether she will start, but Roy Young, well, he wasn't too optimistic, the British team manager, when I talked to him a little earlier this morning. Well, Mike, it couldn't be better. A perfect day, and once again, Davos have done their best here.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. You say that, as you say, a Greiter, the Pathfinder. It'll be interesting to see how the track looks as we get up to the high point coming up very soon.
Well, once again, a very good morning to you from Mike Dixon and myself, David Goldstrom. We're just 30 seconds away from the start of this individual 15-kilometer freestyle race. 3 loops of 5 kilometers on a gorgeous morning. Just under 2 degrees minus Celsius here in Davos, and conditions couldn't be better. 48 competitors, 18 countries represented, and the seeded group started by Nicole Fessel of Germany at number 20, who might well set a very good race. 1 or 2 others to look at. I'm interested to see Natalie Siebenthal at number 36, Swiss racer, and although she's really yet to show at this sort of distance, I quietly think that she might put in a really good race here on home snow. But Mike, you've probably got some thoughts as to your favourites for today.
Well, my thoughts is, how can anybody stop Teresa Johaug? The form she's shown recently, David, she's come into this season so much head and shoulders above the rest. Can anybody catch her in this race? I don't think so.
Well, I don't think there's a person around who would disagree with you, apart from the other 47 competitors, but realistically Teresa started in terrific form, and it's the same in the men's race, which comes later, and that is Martin Jonsrud Sundby, who started in equally dynamic form, a race which includes Britain's Andrew Musgrave. So here we are, number 2. These are the unseeded athletes. There are a couple of time checks that we'll have out on the course here. Individual racing, this is Evelina Settlin from Sweden, just 23 years of age, starting out, and almost immediately they get out of the stadium, they're already on the climb.
They very much are, all the way up to 750. Then you've got this quick, it's only like 30 meters track length, very fast descent with a sharp right-hander. Then you've got another 700 meters continual climb, and then a couple of little rises and drops down, and then you've got the high point at 2.5 kilometers.
Sweden, Lynn Sörmska. The interesting thing about the Swedes is the number of youngsters they're bringing in there. That was Caitlin Gregg you saw of the United States, and I was mentioning Annika Taylor, Britain's representative. We don't know if she's going to start, but one of the interesting things is in the American races, because actually Annika and her family come from Truckee, California. That's where they're based. Actually, in some of those American races, Annika was actually once on the podium with Caitlin, so potentially a very interesting, and she initially thought it was a cute idea to be representing Great Britain as opposed to America. Whether that's going to work out in time, given the success of the American women's team, we'll have to wait and see. But most importantly, we hope that she's able to start. Now, Rosie Brennan for the United States of America, and the United States women, a milestone last weekend in Lillehammer in the relay when they finished in 3rd place, and that's the first time that an American women's relay team in the World Cup have finished on a podium position.
And Rosie just started 16th. I think she showed the potential. They showed their potential at the World Championships in Falun, where she was 16th in the 30-kilometer classic.
they could blindfold Serena Bonner because this is her hometown. She's local and pretty experienced now, 33 years of age, yet to win a World Cup, or indeed to make a podium. Last year, just outside the top 15, 16th here in Davos, could do better today.
It's been a long time, David, since in the women's side there's been a winner in the Swiss cross-country team. I think we have to go back to the mid-80s, to Evie Kratzer, the girl from St. Moritz, who was winning World Cups, many World Cups in her time.
And here you get an idea of that climb. Looks very gentle, but very soon it starts to demand quite a lot, because this is a very up and down type of course, and that is energy sapping. Very
much. And the big factor here as well, David, the low point of the course is 1,555 metres all the way up to 1,639. Now, they've been in Ruka, which is at 200 metres above sea level. Lillehammer, 300 metres above sea level. When you go up to 1,600, we've got 17% less oxygen here, and the athletes' demand is for oxygen, and you absolutely feel it on this course.
Yeah, they rushed down here from Lillehammer to get as much experience as they could. The cross-country skiers, after the relays, they were like vroom, vroom, zoom out of Lillehammer to get down here to have effectively a full 5 days of training and acclimatization.
And it does take quite some time to acclimatise. Generally, your body takes even up to 10 days to get used to the lack of oxygen here in Davos.
So I have to say, it's as good as I've ever seen. Davos have prepared this course, which is all artificial snow, but it's beautifully done. There's Nicole Fessel signing on to the anti-doping board. That's a board where all the athletes are invited to sign on to that to confirm that they are going to ski an honest race. No cheating, no messing around. And very important with all that's been going on in recent times in the world of sport and anti-doping. Very different to the races we've had in Ruka and also in Lillehammer, particularly where the skiathlon was effectively pursuit races. Here, individual time trial, so completely different mental approach to this race.
It's a very different mindset. It's you personally against the clock. Yes, you will at some point in the race get into some traffic, and traditionally in the old days that was the only chance opportunity to hang on to the skier who's faster. But it's very much you, your mindset, your body against the clock in this race.
Anna Haug for Sweden. As I said, lots of Swedes involved here. Hails from Mora, this 29-year-old, very experienced, stalwart in the Swedish team, Anna Haug, and represented Sweden in the Olympics, but perhaps the most important moment of her career was in Whistler in 2010 when she got a silver in the 15-kilometer pursuit. That's really the highlight of her international championship career.
Her form does seem to fluctuate. You mentioned those high points, David, but there's been many low points as well, and I just hope that Anna Haug can come good this season. 53rd last week in Lillehammer. It showed poor form. Hopefully that's coming back today.
Well, it's an interesting season. No Nordic Ski Championships, but of course we have a Tour de Ski. In fact, we have two of them. One, of course, just starting after the Christmas holidays, going across the new year, and the second one towards the end of the season over in Canada, which is the new experiment. But here we are with a woman who started it all, and this is Deborah Agreiter of Switzerland, of Italy, 24 years of age, and reasonably experienced, coming up to the first of our checks at 2.2 kilometers.
And you see the steep hill climb in the background. This is coming up. There's still 300 meters of track left to get to the high point. And Agreiter, she'd had 2 times silver, 1 times bronze at Junior World Champs. I thought she'd come into, yes, she's 24-year-old now, but I thought she was going to be a huge name in cross-country skiing. Hopefully that is going to still happen. And the thing with this course, when you get to this, the high point, you need to try and keep momentum. We'll see Therese Johaug later on with extreme tempo up these short, sharp climbs. You saw the tight left-hander into the base of this incredibly steep climb. This is about 24% in gradient terms.
Interesting Setlin, that much quicker than Agreiter. initially when she started the climb, but you can see she's lost momentum there. Selecting and now being challenged by Sumsker. And about to start Jessica Diggins, who had terrific early season form over here in Europe in Gällivare, and was the anchor on that women's team last weekend that got that podium third place finish in the relay. Very, very high in spirits, Jess Diggins, at the moment.
And I think that the American team overall, it's such a positive team full of self-belief, and that's partly why that bronze medal in the relay last weekend. They're really fired up athletes.
Lisa Roppanen, another of the more experienced, now 37. 15 kilometers freestyle ought to suit her, but, you know, I think these days 10 would be better than 15 for her. 18, Elizabeth Stephen for the United States. And again, now into the second part of her 20s, and again a pretty good performer. Just to remind you that her personal best was a second place in a 10-kilometer freestyle race last season in Rybinsk. So this should suit her. Sarina Bonner, and you can see Setlin's gone out pretty quickly there.
She has indeed. I think Bonner will be happy so far, so good. She isn't overworking. It is a 15-kilometer race. You do not want to take the first 2 kilometers over the top, over your comfort zone, or you will suffer later at these altitudes.
For me, the key woman to this is number 20. Here she is, Nicole Fessel for Germany. And the Germans in Lillehammer, not a bad performance. Steffi Berler also up there. And as I said, this is where this woman got her personal best last year. And obviously keen to follow up, but also noteworthy that she's in good form at the start of the season.
Very much, and I think her fourth last weekend up in Lillehammer was showed the fight, and the fight was all the way to the line. And I think Nicole Fessel, to break into that Scandinavian stronghold with Kala and the Norwegian girls ahead of her, I think she's in great shape and a big confidence builder.
So still Evelina Setlin of Sweden setting the pace up the first couple of kilometers, and at the moment the quickest of the first half dozen. 22 coming out here, Heidi Weng. Now Heidi Weng has just been knocking on the door so many times. Second in the skiathlon last weekend in Lillehammer, and third here last year in the 10-kilometer race. But 4 times she's been a runner-up, 8 times she's been third.
She's quite amazing. David, the cameraman goes onto the signage there now. Remember in Ruka, poor old Weng, she was in second place, and she thought she had 1 lap to go, but she went straight into the finish, lost herself some 40 seconds, in tears as she rejoined the race. So from second, she finished 20th, and that's a whole lot of points she's lost. In 4th position now overall. She could really have been in 2nd position, but for that mistake.
The World Cup Tour leader just a few moments away. 42, that's Alenka Šebašek of Slovenia getting ready. But here, well, the woman of the moment, Teresa Johaug, the 2014 overall World Cup champion, but no Marit Bjørgen to vie with. She probably actually misses Marit Bjørgen because these two have had so many ding-dong battles between them. But there is that characteristic high-tempo start.
I'm just wondering, David, if Marit Bjørgen was here, with the greatest respect, I think the improvement that Teresa Johaug has shown in her summer build-up would be hard to catch. Even the great Marit Bjørgen would struggle to be beating her this season.
New leader. Well, Anna Haag took the lead, but Caitlin Gregg, now of the United States, the bronze medalist at the World Championships in Falun, over 10 kilometres freestyle, has just picked up the pace and taken over first place through the first couple of kilometres. She's 1.2 seconds quicker than Anna Haag, but this woman is another to keep your eye on. I thought this was an absolutely storming race by this Czech find. She's 28 years of age, but Petra Novakova, who was 6th in the skiathlon, 17th here last year, I think to keep an eye on. And I know that the Czech team and the Czech coaches are thinking that this could be a really good day for her. So Diggins up into 4th place, and 16 just going through. Jessica Diggins with a little bit of work to do, but interesting that Caitlin Gregg, who was a little bit of a surprise for us, if you remember, Mike, in Falun, because she was very well known in the United States, but she'd come off a series of victories, hadn't she, in North America?
Well, that's mostly the Loppet racing, the longer races, but you know, without a doubt, on that amazing day in Falun, the conditions did play into her hand with a very early start number, where the big seeded athletes were last year starting last.
Kari Slind, who raced in the Norwegian #2 team last week with distinction. The former under-23 bronze medalist in skiathlon. Elizabeth Stephen coming up here now. There you can see the Americans making pretty strong start here.
Elizabeth Stephen, she's a high-class runner as well as clearly a top skier, and that is a good start from her.
This is certainly the sort of race where the American women can prosper, because freestyle racing over 10 and 15 is where they really have a chance. Steffi Böhler, look at, well, actually the television doesn't tell you how tiny Steffi Böhler is, but she's, you know, when you go, we can't really see here, but you know, if you take one of the blokes and you actually put her alongside, she is really tiny.
A lot of them are, aren't they? When you look at Therese Johaug, she's what, just barely 1.6 meters, and such a slender athlete. I think only 45 kilos, so tiny athletes, but amazing engines.
So Nicole Fessel, well, she is the first of the seeded group, so Pathfinder, and on terms here pretty well with Caitlin Gregg, who started fast. And Gregg also through 3.2 kilometres, quicker than Anna Haag by 3.7 seconds. So she's actually doubled her advantage over the experienced Swede in the last kilometre. And there's Charlotte Kalla.
I think Charlotte Kalla, David, she'll be happy with her draw today. She's bib 46, so behind Johaug, Weng, all the big names, Jakobsen. She'll be getting all the information.
Many of you might wonder why Charlotte Kalla is so far down the order, and basically she is a seeded racer, but the fact is that as a seeded racer she's probably going to find this very much her cup of tea. And there's Heidi Weng, well, just showing her good form.
And I think we'll see Therese Johaug come through even a little faster. But look at the tempo. The difference here is all about tempo. Yes, you need the capacity to cope with that limb speed.
Actually, the point I was trying to make, actually, which I didn't make very well, Mike, was being 46 right towards the end. There's only really Kerttu Niskanen after of the seeded racers. She has all the advantage in a time trial to take in information, on someone like Teresa Johaug, who's going particularly early. But I don't know whether anybody's going to deal with this. Look at this, 2.2 kilometres, and that's the best part of 20 seconds. And that's out of some decent races already.
That's quite phenomenal. She's clearly wanting to attack on all the uphill climb, and there's an easier journey where she won't be able to make as much time on the rest of the field in the journey back down into the stadium.
So a bit of a cheer here for Von Siementhal to get underway. There you can see a real purposeful start.
Very dynamic. Good little flick there on each leg. A lot of the energy coming from that flick from below the knee as the leg extends out.
So as she goes out here, it's Teresa Johaug at 2.2 kilometers, 19.4 seconds ahead of Heidi Weng, 27.3 ahead of Caitlin Gregg, and 28 ahead of Anna Haag, and Nicole Fessel 29 seconds back. So there might be some of you thinking, well, okay, who's going to race for silver and bronze?
Well, the percentage difference there, David, is huge to take so much time. You mentioned those time margins in only 2.2 kilometers, the first 2.2 in a 15-kilometer race. She's really setting her stall out early.
As Jakobsen comes up, I can tell you that actually Lisa Ropponen has turned around the deficit that she had behind Caitlin Gregg at the first checkpoint now, and Ropponen leading through 3.2 kilometers, 8:54.5.
Surprised at Jakobsen. That's a huge deficit early on. I just wonder if she has fallen maybe on the first descent to lose that amount of time. Well, there again, it is to Johaug, who has destroyed the rest of the field by some 20 seconds.
And sadly, I can tell you that Annika Taylor of Great Britain has not been able to start the race. And if you are just joining us, Annika, of British parentage, lives out in California, in Truckee, and has done pretty well over in North America. Decided a wee while ago that she would take the opportunity to race for Great Britain. Has been preparing for this race in Davos, and yesterday was mowed down by two Russian testers coming down on a descent at far too great a speed, and they literally upended her. She went up in the air, came down, damaged her thumb, but more significantly also hurt her back, and she hasn't recovered sufficiently to take part. So disappointing for her and indeed British fans.
Stephanie Bowler just starting her journey, looking very relaxed in the start pen prior to the start. It does pose the question, David, for an athlete to be out doing your training, doing your skiing, to be wiped out by basically wax technicians. I know there's a lack of snow, and I know the tracks are icy and fast, but that should not really be happening.
Well, here's another strong contender from the Norwegian team, getting more versatile by every single season now. So well established in the team, and again, the absence of Marit Bjørgen means that she's an absolute must in the relay team. Ingvild Flugstad Ørsberg, who first came to note in the Junior World Championship ranks, where she notched up no less than 3 Junior World gold medals, and was a sprint winner here last season in Davos. So happy memories for her as she sets out, but her range of distances has certainly extended. Johaug through 3.2 kilometers, I can tell you, ahead of Heidi Weng by 20 seconds, and ahead of Ropponen by 37, and 38 ahead of Caitlin Gregg, and 38 also ahead of Nicole Fessel and Jess Diggins and Elizabeth Stevens. So there's a whole group there: Ropponen, Gregg, Fessel, Diggins, Stevens, who are all travelling at about the same speed. 44 out of the gates, and that is Anne Kolonen, perhaps better known for her sprinting prowess.
I think so, but getting better this season so far, getting better in the distance races.
Jakobsen a reasonable start, but I'm slightly concerned about Astrid Jakobsen because she hasn't really been finishing her races particularly strongly so far.
And look at this part of the course. You can just the camera never really does these climbs justice at 8.2 kilometers. A short, sharp climb once you cross the little stream back into the woods. Most of this track up in the valley is in the shade. It's only the stadium really where you're in the sunshine.
So Charlotte Kaller currently lying in 5th place in the overall Wiesmann World Cup rankings. Early days, of course. Charlotte, the youngest, and I think was she the first or the second winner of the Tour de Ski?
When she was 19 or 20 year old.
think she was. It's
No,
the 10th season.
She was the second.
Yeah, it was the second season because Verpi Koitinen was the one who was winning then.
And she certainly was.
Yeah.
Koitinen has had many victories on this track as well. I don't think we'll see a finish victory today.
Yeah, Verpi Koitinen better in classic style, of course, than freestyle. But Charlotte Kalla, the youngest ever winner in the Tour de Ski in its 10th season this year. And what I think will be very interesting is to see how people peak for the Tour de Ski and how they peak for the Canadian equivalents in March. I think that's going to be fascinating.
And without a World Championships, I think you're right. Athletes will be selecting the Tour de Ski as the key part of their season.
So Kerttu Niskanen to be the last of the starters, the 48th. But certainly not a back number in terms of what she may well deliver here. She's very much the #1 Finn at the moment. Now, 2.2 kilometers. And this will be a comparison, obviously, with Johaug. But this isn't a bad effort by her. Coming up here, well, that's up there with the likes of Greg and 27, 28 seconds off the pace at the moment.
And I think you're only looking, what, 4 or 5 seconds off third place, and that's what von Siebenthal will be informed to keep that pace, keep the relaxed feel. And look at the distance she's taken out from the athlete who was with her on the top of the rise. Yeah,
this is up at 8.2 kilometers. Sarina Bonner for Davos. Looking pretty strong up at 8.2 kilometers. It's Setlin of Sweden who went through in 21.53, and then in fact Bonner, just as you saw there, through in 21.45, 8 seconds ahead of Setlin and 28 ahead of Rosie Brennan and also Monique Siegel for Germany. But Fessel was the athlete I was looking at in terms of setting the pace, and Nicole Fessel through the third intermediate time. Let's just have a look. That would be at 5 kilometers, and Theresa Johaug 11:37, 21 seconds behind Heidi Weng, who's pretty well stabilized the deficit, Mike.
Well, Heidi Weng, we saw her attacking out of the stadium, and she'll try and maintain the momentum, the frequency.
But the closest athlete to Theresa Johaug, the Czech racer Petra Novakova, who I highlighted right at the beginning when she started out. Probably now finding her form as never before, and potentially the best Czech female cross-country skier since Neumanova.
Yeah, great prospect, a great find for the Czech Republic. And of
but
course,
not young, 28, it's taken her time.
That's quite strange to have now just hitting your best form at 28, having been well developed. Often it's a confidence, you can get yourself up to a high level, but that you need results to help that confidence. You need good backup as well to make sure your equipment or the skis are gliding as best they possibly can. And with that, you need money to have a big backup team. Östberg. I love this climb. This is the steepest part of the course. Coming up towards the high part of the course at 1,639 meters altitude.
She's slower than Novakova, who is through here 16 seconds down, but that's okay from Östberg. She's established her rhythm. What will be interesting is what she does in the next kilometre.
You do get that opportunity, another 500 meters from that camera, you get an opportunity to get your breath back, if you like, but you have to still work down the technical sections, therefore using your leg muscles, but recovering your heartbeat.
Anna Haag, as you can see there, at the moment just ahead of Sarina Bonner of Davos, and there won't be much between the two of them. Anouk Favre-Picon, France, up also in the leading group at that particular distance. So Östberg gone into third place, travelling at about the same speed as Heidi Weng, and there are 3 Norwegians, Östberg, Weng, Jakobsen, all within a couple of seconds of themselves up that initial climb to 2.2 kilometres. Not too many of the starters to come up here. Really, we're just waiting for Charlotte Kalla and Kerttu Niskanen, and they will be very significant, Mike, in terms of Johaug, because they know what Johaug's done. They've got to make a really early judgment call about how they manage their energy.
Very much. Well, here's this looks like Kalla now, and she certainly started off aggressively, but she's not going to be in the lead coming up to this point.
Well, so different the tempo between the likes of Kalla and Johaug.
And this is Kalla's strength, 15 kilometers in the freestyle technique. It really does suit her, but look at this, she's going to be, well, maybe just into second place.
Yeah, but that is alongside Novakova and also not so far behind Johaug. So not a bad start there by Kalla. Well, the interesting thing about Therese Johaug, there are so many interesting things about her, but in terms of racing, she's actually never won a 15-kilometer freestyle race. She's been on the podium 7 times in her 8 starts over this distance. She's been a runner-up twice. She's finished 5 times in 3rd position. But you just have to say she's gone through the time check at 7.2 kilometers, just under half distance, 17:35, 40 seconds ahead of Heidi Weng, who was 20 seconds behind her at 2.2 kilometers.
Do you know, David, the rest of the world are going to be wondering, what can we do? Every coach out there must be thinking, what can we do to close the gap, to win a race anymore? Because what she's doing today is outstanding to break a field by that much at half distance.
And there's another quality racer, Kerttu Niskanen, in at 20-second deficit, so she's running at the same time as Ersberg, Heidi Weng, Kerttu Niskanen, Jakobsen. They're all in that sort of 20-second range. And here's Fessel coming up here to challenge Ropponen, who I'm delighted to say is actually having a really good race there. And at that 8.2 kilometer race, haven't mentioned her actually, Emma Vicken and Jess Diggins about 11-12 seconds behind Nicole Fessel. So Fessel's not having a bad race. She is a bit of a pathfinder, but now Heidi Weng. Now what I've told you is that 7.2 kilometers Weng was 40 seconds behind Johaug. So now Weng is 30 seconds ahead of Fessel.
But look who's coming already. There's Weng just gone out of camera shot, and already it's as if Johaug's going to take almost 30 seconds from her.
I mean, she's
more.
She's an amazing heart. 44 seconds. So that's another 4 seconds in the last K.
It's a different standard. Johaug has put such a tough summer in and worked on all her weaknesses, which is the sprinting, the shorter distance. So there's a lot more speed work, and that's why she can hold such a frequency.
It's really interesting when you consider that she's also a fashion businesswoman. She started her fashion business with a variety of items, but mostly there was the gloves that really were the big takeoff. But just last month, she launched her casual clothing range, and she is set to probably at the end of the day outdo Bjorn Daily, who started the fashion business with all those sweaters. But I bet you Teresa, who's capturing the female market in a big way, ultimately she'll be cashing in big time, I think, on the fashion. And you know, she said, you know, she so enjoys it, but she's still up at 7 o'clock every single morning for the first of her 2 training sessions, which is 2.5 hours, and then a second session of about 90 minutes in the afternoon. So she's absolutely focused and serious about this. And there you have, well, there's the 2.2 kilometers, but we know we can go ahead even further than that now, because 8.2 kilometers is a situation 44 seconds ahead of Heidi Weng, and 1 minute and 14 ahead of Fessel, 1:18 ahead of Ropponen, and these are no back number racers.
Normally, David, we'd look at the 2.2 kilometer information as we saw there, and you see an athlete leading by a clear 16 seconds over the rest of the world. That's just in 2 kilometers. You would say, well, that athlete has gone out far too fast. But in this case, Johaug is just on a different level this season. She really is, and that's largely due to her preparation before this season.
3rd spot for Jakobsen, but she, like just about everybody else, cannot live with Johaug's pace. One of the slight disappointment, what we're not seeing here, Mike, is this chicane descent that comes into the stadium, because technically you have to be really on the money there, because you can lose the race. And I was thinking that with the men's race starting in the afternoon, those corners could really cut up.
Very much so, and we're not seeing the very fast section. All the athletes are going over 60 kilometers an hour on one part of this course. Again, we're not seeing that particular part, but interesting to see the previous athlete, the Norwegian athlete, taking a drink at just past the 8.2 kilometer, just past the half distance. And I think that's intelligent racing. You lose at these altitudes, you need to keep the fluid intake high.
Saraina Bonner, by the way, is through 12.2 kilometers, so only 2.8 to the finish, 31 minutes 49 seconds, and she's the early leader in terms of the clubhouse. And that's not a bad performance, but how many minutes and seconds are we going to be inside 40 minutes for this race for the likes of Teresa Johaug, I wonder?
Novikova did the early intense pace, David. I think she's maybe hit it a little too hard too soon, but that's her spirit this season. She's wanting success, but now she's over a minute behind Johaug. Yeah,
she's 70.6 seconds behind. She's gone into fourth place. She's behind Jakobsen, behind Heidi Weng. So folks, this race is taking on a very similar shape as to the beginning of the season. 1, 2, 3 Norwegians occupying first, second and third place at the moment. Fauvre-Picon for France.
Just changing gears intelligently on the steeper part. It's leading on one side, and then up this more gentle climb. You can see it there, the double pole now with each leg kick. That's called skate 2, or double dance as the Norwegians call it.
Yeah, she's lost time to Saraina Bonner, and now Slind into fifth place, and that's just behind Novikova. So that is 4 Norwegians in the top 5. And Slind, of course, is in the situation, remember, we've got Ersberg to come. She's in the sort of situation in the stage of her career that Ersberg was, trying to make that transition from, you know, the junior ranks into the senior ranks, and to find a place in the elite Norwegian squad, you know, as a regular spot for her. But that's pretty good skiing by Slind.
Well, when you've got a team as strong as this present Norwegian team, it's very difficult and almost demoralizing for those below it in the B team, C team, D team and juniors to get a foothold in the team. How do you break into this incredible team with all the backup? And I've heard it's a little demoralizing, but then I suppose, like any other team, you need to be top 4, top 5 in the country to guarantee your slot every time.
Well, Slind's done that. She was 8th in the 5K in Ruka, which was freestyle, so that was pretty good, part of the Ruka triple. And go back to 2013, she was a bronze medalist in the under-23 Worlds at skiathlon, so a versatile skier, and only 24, so she's the same generation as Ersberg.
Very much, and I suppose the races in Lillehammer, where you can start many more athletes, being the home nation, it does let a lot of those contenders have an opportunity to race against the best in the world.
There were moments when it did feel slightly like the Norwegian National Championships. But this is over the bridge towards what will be the finish. And you can see here that Anna Haag, 8.2 kilometers. And just looking at where Haag at, yeah, 1 minute and 35 down now. So this is Haga, not to be confused with Haag, and yet another Norwegian trying to make a name for herself.
Good to see Greg, the bronze medalist you mentioned earlier from Falun. That was over 10 kilometers distance, sorry, 15 distance.
Yeah, different style of skiing. The cadence is different, isn't it?
Very much so, and purposeful, deliberate glides. And when we see Johaug coming up here, it's just all about frequency, tempo, attacking all the time.
So 38-36. It's telling you that this is pretty quick. This course has been beautifully prepared. Real hard, compact, artificial snow. Well, through the 2/3 distance, I can tell you, Teresa Johaug 46 seconds ahead of Heidi Weng and 55 ahead of Jakobsen, who's actually stabilised. She's not really, she's really stabilised at the moment. She hasn't lost anything, she hasn't gained anything, but actually skiing a better race. I was perhaps a little hard on her earlier on, and if Jakobsen can achieve a podium place here, that will be a success, because you remember with Jakobsen, finally, Jakobsen got that silver medal in Falun. Do you remember in the World Championship in the skiathlon? And you know, she's had so many near misses, but that individual medal meant so much to her.
I think it was, and you know, that's probably if you don't get those individual medals, then and you're in the Norwegian team, and then your spirit goes down a little. So that was a great moment for Jakobsen.
Jess Diggins, a little bit more lively there than Caitlin Gregg. And, well, there's the reward for a few moments anyway.
I think it will be a few moments, and I think
Sarina Bonner will be in there pretty soon.
And I think Agreita's time will be bettered by Johaug by what, over a minute and a half? Possibly more.
Possibly more, I was going to say.
Possibly
could be more, yeah.
Up to 2 minutes, 2:30 even.
Yeah. We haven't talked about skis and wax preparation. I mean, the course is in such good condition. Generally, what do you think will the decision have been for most of these women?
It's in great condition. It's really the structure, the base of your ski. It's man-made, machine-made snow mostly, so very aggressive snow, so smooth base.
And on the right there, Bonner coming in alongside Siegel of Germany. I think I said on the right, I should have said on the left. And Fessel now challenging at 12.2 kilometers. She's the second one, wearing bib number 20, 12.9 seconds ahead of Roppanen.
Strong performance from Fessel, but never as strong as this. Johaug is just attacking all the time. She's going to destroy that latest new time, destroy it by nearly 2 minutes. Oh, 1 minute 44 ahead of Fessel, who came fourth last weekend in the distance race in Lillehammer. And Johaug has gone ahead of Heidi Weng. There's Heidi Weng. She started 1 minute behind Weng.
Yeah, I mean, that must be so disheartening. Now, Ersberg into third place at 8.2 kilometers. So this is significant. Because Ersberg now puts Norway 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 in the top 6, with Slind in 6th place at the moment.
You're right about Sarina Bonner. She's just getting ready for that warm, comfortable winner's seat, champion's chair.
Well, very nice for her, you know, in Davos, in your own home country, to have some moments.
Won't be long though.
No. But nonetheless, a good opportunity. And of course, Dario Colonia will be racing in a little later in the afternoon. The Swiss, coached by Albert Mannhardt. He's the head coach this season for the Swiss, with Ivan Hudak as support. The team captains Christian Fleury for Switzerland this season.
Ivan Hudak has been with many teams, and of course did so much work for Petra Majic. Really guided her so well to bring her to her best place.
So she's out there. Johaug really now, she's gone through 12.2 kilometers, and there's no real sign of weakness from her. Jakobsen was 55 seconds behind Johaug at 10 kilometers, so this will be, you can see that she's lost time. Johaug just pressing on. I mean, she's stressing the entire field.
Destroying, I mean, completely destroying it. And I don't think, I did say it earlier, I didn't think that even if Marit Bjørgen were here today, I don't think she'd be challenging Johaug.
Here's Anna Haag coming through to try and challenge Sarina Bonner. Not going to make it, though, in the white. and Sarina Bonner can celebrate for a few more seconds. Just behind her there was Caroline Thomas from France. Now Johaug, 1,800 meters from home, just looking a little easier, maybe just relaxed a little bit. Maybe she's feeling confident that she doesn't have to really push it all the way, but it's her nature so to do.
You can't take that fight out of her. Yeah, the coaches are probably saying, listen, you've got over a minute lead. You could think about backing up if you want, but that doesn't come into her thinking, and that's why she's destroying the field here. She's got such an aggressive attacking attitude towards her racing.
She will be. It's a pity that, again, it'd be interesting to see if we can see a bit of downhill from Johaug, to see whether she, just because of the technical aspect of the downhill with these chicanes, you're getting a little impression of it here, but actually it's just a little higher up on the course that would be more interesting. Emma Vicken, we haven't really talked about Emma, and she was some 2 minutes behind Johaug, but actually she's overtaken Bonner, so she's actually wiped out a deficit of 18 seconds in the last 2,800 meters.
That's a great, strong finish. I wonder if Sarina Bonner actually had some mishap on one of these tight and difficult bends.
Possible. Diggins now.
It's going to take it.
And Diggins and Vicken. Well, Diggins was ahead of Vicken by just a couple of seconds at 12.2 kilometers. So again, that's really interesting to see her going in at the finish at 15 kilometers, 37 minutes 44, 4 ahead of Vicken. Bonner drops to third, Anna Haag off the podium, and 2 Swedes at the moment in the top 5. Caitlin Gregg, the second ranked for America now. Kari Slind. Now Slind, interesting to see. She was about a minute and a half behind Johaug, but she's part of the fun really, because the way the Norwegians are going. I was just going to check on the Nations Cup if I've got it. I thought I had it. I wasn't quite sure. I might have it on the men's ranking, but Norway just storming away.
Jessie Diggins delighted to be there. I hope she sits in there for some time, but it's not going to last all day without a doubt. In fact, it won't last past Fessel, who's now coming in for the final 400 or 500 meters. And the only little bit of the race where you get some reprieve is leading into this tight right-hander.
It's good payday here for the men and women here. 15,000 Swiss francs to the winner. Good currency to be winning your prize money in. And 10,000 to the second, 5,000 to the third. But here comes Johaug, and look at this, the running time in here, and it is almost 2 minutes ahead. And Johaug 1:54.8 ahead of a class act like Nicole Fessel, but she's just in a class of her own here. Heidi Weng on the left of your picture coming in, and she finishes 75 seconds behind.
And you know, David, that's probably going to remain as the second fastest time. 1 minute 15 behind Johaug.
Well, it might be a bit presumptuous, but I guess we're going to say, Mike, it's the first time she's now nailed a 15-kilometre freestyle race, and that's her 10th World Cup victory. And that would be podium number 41. And when you consider that, Teresa's only 27, for goodness sake. And, Falun, what was it, 2 gold medals, 30-kilometre classics, skiathlon, and silver and bronze medals in Sochi. Marit Bjørgen will be back, all being well, for the Nordic Ski World Championships in Lahti. But, you can't help thinking that this woman, Johaug, is going to go from strength to strength. Now, this is actually a pretty good run. Look at the way she stayed with Heidi Weng. That's good pacing. Oh, and she's got in there in third place.
Just behind Veng.
Yeah, 0.2 behind her, Siebenthal. Now, I had hoped that she'd had a good race. I wasn't suggesting she was going to win, but she was outside the top 30 here last year.
Well, 15th, it's good racing in World Cup from the best that have landed here, from the top 48 in the world at the moment who are here. It's good racing.
This young lady who comes from a tiny farming community of just 500, where everybody knows everybody, but Johaug is known by the whole of Norway now. I mean, her exploits, her achievements, as I say, both on the snow and off the snow. And she's absolutely at her prime.
She is. Jakobsen there just coming to congratulate her. But Jakobsen must be thinking, what do I have to do? How can I find another 1 minute 15 to even get close to this lady? And David, in the 5 races so far this season, up in Finland, then over to Lillehammer, that's 4 victories now for Johaug.
I know, it's
Four
extraordinary.
She won't be winning tomorrow, though, in the sprint. In fact, I wonder if she'll even race out in the trials early on. She probably will, of course she will. She probably will make it into the top 30.
It's interesting, sometimes you do it because it's a very good sharpener. And Erzberg now trying to have a bit of the share here at 12.2 kilometers.
This is good.
And this is very good. This is good stuff, 55 seconds. And that's going to put her, as you can see, into second place. So Norway eyeing up the first 4 places.
And we can't forget Kalle as well, Charlotte Kalle.
Yeah, we shouldn't also forget the Czech racer, Novikova, and here she comes.
I think she went out too hard, just that little bit hard early on. She was up there at the top of the sharp end at 2 kilometers and has backed off since then.
Sarina Bonner still holding on to a top 10 place. That's not a bad effort when you consider that she was starting with all the time disadvantages of bib number 6. And Novikova now into the Finnish Slind coming in. And where's Slind going to finish? Oh, that is terrific. That is terrific from Slind, and goes into, what, 4th place at the end.
Great job, great effort, and getting all the split times, getting all the information of those racing ahead of her, knowing exactly what she needs to do. But thumbs up from Therese Johaug. What a great job done. And there wasn't a moment in that race, David, where she appeared to back off. She attacked from the start line to the finish line.
Well, for some bizarre reason, Erzberg still to come home. But, you know, when you look at Erzberg, she's going to go into, you know, possibly a podium, well, possibly second place, 45. But, you know, I mean, she may well quicken up a little bit more as well. And 1 or 2, you can see there, decent race from Ropinen, but just doesn't have the pace these days. And I think it's very difficult with Johaug in the race. What do you do? Do you start out and you say, right, I'm going to ignore Johaug splits, I'm going to go with somebody else, I'm going to go with Heidi Veng, who's a top racer, and I'm going to work to her timing rather than Johaug's?
I think so, David, and I think the coaches will be giving their athletes potential podiums. You have a chance of second or third. I think the first place is completely out of...
Or top 10.
Or top 10, yes.
Yeah.
If you're a lower ranked athlete, you've got to be looking at your best possible achievable within short time frames.
Charlotte Kalle at 12.2 kilometers, and she was 64 seconds behind Johaug at well, just looking at this was at 8.2 kilometers, she was 64 seconds. So what is that? That's another 28 seconds gone. It just shows you that Johaug never took her foot off the pedal. And here's yet another of the Norwegian talents, Ragnhild Haga, and not going to feature in the podium positions, but 4th, 5th place at the moment. You know, there are not that many more out in the country. I mean, this just shows you that, you know, the generation that is out there. She's 24. She's the same as Slin, the same as Østberg. This is the generation with, you know, Johag's 3 years older, Marit's in her 30s, but it's that generation that you're seeing now that are getting into the top 4 or 5 positions that are ultimately going to take over.
And you know what? They're going to be there a long time as well. At those ages, they'll be staying around certainly till the next Olympics and probably the one after that in Beijing. Niskanen, you know, we heard that little interview with her at the start of the program. We know her strength is not freestyle, but today she seems to have lifted her game massively.
Well, she's the leader of the Finnish women's team, and, you know, we're a little more than a year away from the Nordic Ski World Championships, and when you look at the whole Finnish Nordic situation, there are not too many opportunities, and I would say that the Finnish women's team and Kerttu Niskanen herself are people that you would really look to medal in just over a year's time in Lahti. The ski jumping team isn't going very well. The Nordic combined team has just got one guy at the moment who has had a podium, but, you know, when you compare it with the powerhouses of Norway in this sport and Austria in others like ski jumping, and there you can see the situation at the finish at the moment there, and look at those Norwegian positions there in the top 10.
Well, you're talking about Niskanen. She needs to find, David, 12 seconds from that 12.2 kilometre marker in order to move up one more place, and that's what the coaches will be telling her. Is it possible? I'm not sure it is.
So von Simenthal, this is not a bad effort by her. Youngster, only 22, and 15th place on home snow. Under 23 skiathlon world champion last season, and a bronze medalist also in the 10K free at the under 23 worlds. This is a young woman to keep.
Yeah, certainly really talented, and her time behind second place is good. We saw the 2 minutes 44 there off the lead time, but of course,
yeah, she's 2:46 off the lead, but she's just behind bronze medalist Caitlin from the World Championships, just behind Anna Haag. Sarina Bonner is still the best for Switzerland, though. But, you know, it's von Simenthal who's got the years on her side.
Without a doubt, and a positive experience here today, with the slight pressure of racing at home in Davos.
Ragnhild Haga, I've got to say, I mean, that's a good performance. I mean, she was up there in the sprint in Ruka. So, you know, this again, you just look at the talent there, and Norway at the moment sitting in the first 5 places, for goodness sake. And Parmakoski, actually this is interesting, isn't it, that Parmakoski, who we didn't see really right the way through the race, a minute 54, and that's worthy of a pat on the back, I think, because that's a good performance by her.
Certainly is. Østberg, well, look at this. Østberg possibly going into second place, definitely going into second place.
Yeah, and you know what that means. This is she's just taken 6th place off Parmakoski, the 24-year-old from Luolahti, and look at Teresa out of the chair. This is the spirit they have in the team.
It is. Let her breathe. Let her breathe. There's not much air up here.
Now I'm just wondering with I'm just thinking with Østberg, that is a remarkable finish by her, and I wonder how that just affects her all-time performance record. I'll just, you know, she's been on the podium, she's been a winner on a couple of occasions, but those have been in sprints, and that for me would be only her 2nd career runners-up spot. 8 podiums in all now.
Yeah, that's a brilliant day for Østberg, and she really dug deep to get herself into 2nd place. Of course, Østberg, David, of course, was winning medals as a junior, a number of goals at the
but
junior
also
world
at under
champs.
23, and she's 25. You know, she's in that mid-20s range there. And Teresa having a little chat there with Heidi Weng. How did it go for you? Well, I was 3rd again. Yeah, the Norwegian coaching team absolutely massive. I mean, when you look on the list there of the people who are actually involved in Norway, I mean, it's absolutely incredible.
Well, nothing left to chance. You've got so many wax technicians endlessly testing. Yes, every team has technicians out working, but they very rarely get it wrong. So the skis are always 99% of the time guaranteed to be equal or better than the rest.
Well, I don't know what Age Stinstad makes of this, but Johaug 1, Ørsberg 2, Weng 3, Jakobsen 4, Slind 5, Haga 6. All Norwegian.
But hang
top
on.
6 places.
The party's going to be spoiled, I think, by Sweden.
Yeah, here comes Kalla, and started steadily, and Kalla coming into 6th place and pushes Haga down to 7th. But hey, what that tells you is that Charlotte Kalla, Olympic champion, remember, over 10 kilometers freestyle, that was her first major championship victory. But the Norwegians, okay, they've only got 6 in the top 7, Mike. How disappointing is that?
Quite amazing. And I think we'll see the Norwegians, certainly Johaug, not expecting her to drop off this incredible start to her season. She'll probably carry it through on the 1st of January into the first day of the Tour de Ski, and then what, 9 days later at the top of the mountain. I can't see her being beaten again this year.
By the way, NordicSkiTV@gmail.com is one way to contact Mike and myself for your thoughts and comments as we come to very much the finish of this race now. Kerttu Niskanen, and like Charlotte Kalla, she's found pace, and Niskanen now demotes Kalla, and that is a very good finish by Niskanen.
I think Niskanen, she mentioned it earlier, her strength is more in the classic style. I think that's been a fantastic day for Niskanen. Yes, she started last in the field, had all the information ahead of her, but a very sound performance and an improvement in her freestyle technique.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent race for her. Just thinking about what is that, 6 in a 15 kilometers. Now she was 9th last year in Lahti over 15 kilometers. That was in a mass start race. This unofficially her personal best over this distance in freestyle. Well, that's 15,000 Swiss francs banked.
Not a bad 35 minutes of work. Very, very hard work.
Yeah, good 10,000 for Ingvild Ørsberg and 5 for Heidi Weng. And it's early days in the Nordic World Cup season, but the way that Therese Johaug, she's already notched up 58,500 Swiss francs in prize money. We're only really into week 3, aren't we?
All that hard work in the summer, where she pushes herself. And I know that the best biathlete, Martin Fourcade, when he moved to Norway this summer, in August, he was one of the most inspirational people he met was Johaug, and the way she pushes herself in training.
So there you can see real Norwegian domination in there. Kerttu Niskanen, the best for Finland, and Charlotte Kalla, the top for her country. Nicole Fessel, the #1 for Germany. Jessica Deans, 2 minutes and 3 seconds, but she's got the best of the Americans. Good finish by Emma Wickens, solid performance by Ropinen. Novakova ran out of gas there for the Czech Republic, but she'll learn a lot. 21st place for von Siebenthal. Those are good World Cup points for the youngster from Switzerland. And then going down Caroline Fugue for France, the best for her nation, on what has been an absolutely gorgeous morning. The men's race to come, including Andrew Musgrave, that kicks off at 2 o'clock Central European time, and we look forward to your company for that. Well, these are some of the climbs. We didn't see too many of the descents, but what we did see was a Norwegian team that has really overwhelmed this 48-woman field. Heidi Weng ending up in podium 3rd place, and Østberg going from strength to strength. The great thing about Østberg is that in the sprints and the middle distances, she's very, very effective.
And very intelligent racing. She started slower than anybody out of the stadium. She didn't stress. It is a long journey, it's 15 kilometres. Great pacing there from Østberg.
And what do you do about this woman? What can you do? Look at the tempo. She comes out of the gate there, and it doesn't suit everybody. It doesn't suit anybody other than Therese Johaug. But she is so well balanced, so well technically accomplished. So, just a reminder, double the distance for the men, and 1:45 in fact to set up that race, Central European time. But Therese Johaug, 540, she has 2 full World Cup races ahead of Østberg, and similarly ahead of Weng and Kaller, and she has just enhanced her position. So we're going snowboarding very shortly, as you see the overall positions here, and 2 more Norwegians in the top 15. But Therese Johaug continues winning ways, and that will be the story on all those Norwegian papers tomorrow. So, from Mike Dixon and myself, David Goldstrom, that's just about all we've got for you at the moment. But the men and Andrew Musgrave at 1:45. Most importantly, we go snowboarding at Karetsa. That's next here on Eurosport. So, we'll be back very shortly. Enjoy the rest of your morning, but do join us for the men's 30.